Welcome back for everybody who's coming back. I'm not sure if we have any new people who made the dough ahead of time, but if we did, welcome. Again, I'm Amy Cohen. I'm the co-chair with Tolly Potter of the Brandeis Women's Network, and we're thrilled to have Leah Silver today doing step 2 of our challah baking class. She was amazing with step 1, so I'm sure step 2 is going to be just as great, and we're all going to end up with delicious challah. A couple of housekeeping rules. We're going to have everybody on mute. Any questions as everybody's doing, please put them in the chat box. We're going to take, as we kind of learned yesterday, we'll stop periodically, and the questions will get read out loud, and Leah can respond to them that way. We are posting the recipe and the instructions again on the chat box, and we'll post them periodically for people who have joined late or didn't hear something. So you may want to scroll up and take a look at that. Finally, we are going to be sharing 2 videos, one from yesterday and one from today, of Leah's workshop on Brandeis's social media, and I'm happy to announce on Brandeis's newly created YouTube channel. So they'll be able to see step by step what Leah did today, as well as the entire recipe and instructions. And we again are going to ask at the end, and we'll ask now.
You're going to spill this over now on your bottom. I know, I don't want that on your bottom. No, we're not adding. This is your place, Matthew. Sit down. On your plate. Sit down.
We're going to ask that if everybody can post pictures of their challah on our social media, and we'll be providing hashtags at the end.
We don't want that. We don't want it.
And then again, if everybody could mute, we're getting a little bit of some sounds. So that would be great. And with that, take it away. Did I miss anything?
Everybody, or you should be able to mute everybody if you're the organizer.
Yes, we will do it.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Have I missed anything else? Nikki?
No, Amy, you covered everything.
Okay, so
yeah, you're good to go.
take it away.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I just want to address a couple. I responded to a couple things in the chat just now as Amy was talking, but I'll just address them now. So I am going to make 3 loaves out of this batch of bread. They're going to be 3 small-ish loaves. If you want to make 2 loaves that are bigger, you can do that too. If you want to make 1 monster one, you can do that. It just might not bake as evenly if you make 1. But I'm going to be making 3 out of this. The 3 that I make can fit on 1 large baking sheet. So you should only need 1, large baking sheet, or you can do 2 smaller ones. I'm lining it with parchment paper, but you can also line it with tin foil. If you line it with tin foil, just spray a little bit of cooking spray, a little bit of Pam, or just take a paper towel with a little bit of oil, and you can rub it on that. But with parchment paper, you don't need that. Can you freeze the dough? I don't recommend freezing the dough. I think the best times to freeze it are honestly after you bake it, because just like get it out of the way, bake all the challah, and then you can, after it cools down, after it bakes, you can put it in the freezer, and then you have challah whenever you want it. That's what I think you should do. I think the second best option is to freeze it after you've braided it. I think it gets a little messy when you just freeze the dough. Well, a challah cooked today, stay fresh until Friday. I personally would freeze it. Typically, I make challah later in the week to have it for Shabbat. But if baking it Tuesday, I would stick it in the freezer for a couple of days, and it's still going to be really good when you take it out on Friday. It's going to be like fresh. A silicone mat is my favorite thing to use. Deborah asked that. Where I'm staying right now, I don't have those, but that is what I always use at home, like one of those silicone baking mats, a Sil Pat. You can definitely use that too. emailing the ingredients and directions to all registered participants, yes, I think Nikki is planning on doing that. So even if you don't have access to, if you don't have a social media account, that's fine. We'll make sure you get the recipe and all the ingredients so that you can do this again. Did I answer all of those questions? I think I did. Nikki, you can tell me if I didn't. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Hopefully your dough is close by. This is what I put in my fridge yesterday afternoon when we parted ways. And it has, I would say, about doubled in size. So it's, I don't know if you remember how I left it, but it's definitely much bigger than it was. And so what we're going to be doing in a moment is portioning this dough out into 3. I'm going to do it into 3. If you want to do it a different way, that's fine. But if you want to follow along, I'll be doing it into 3. And then we're going to braid each of those. I like to braid it using a 6-strand braid. So that's what I'm going to teach you how to do today. I think you're all totally capable of doing that, even though that might sound like a lot. It's actually once you figure out the pattern, you'll get it, and they look beautiful. And they'll look really good on the Brandeis Women's Facebook page if you do a 6. And then after we braid it, we're going to let it sit for a little while, and that's when we're going to put some egg wash on. So some egg on. I'm going to walk you through all of this as we do it. I'm just giving you like a summary. Some egg wash on, and then any toppings that you want. So sesame seeds, plain old sesame seeds are my favorite challah topping. If you want poppy seeds or everything bagel seeds or cinnamon sugar crumble, you can kind of get creative with that. That's going to go after the egg wash, but I will walk you through all of this. And yes, when we send anything out, it'll include directions, not just ingredients. But the first thing I wanted to do is a little bit more on the spiritual, magical side of baking challah, which is there's a tradition in Judaism. If you bake a certain amount of challah, it's actually over, I think, 14 cups, which I didn't do individually, and I don't think any of you did individually yesterday. There's a special blessing that you can say over making challah. There's a special mitzvah associated with making challah that involves taking a piece of the challah and actually burning it, saying a blessing over it. And the tradition tells us that that's a time that's a very sort of spiritual time. It's a time where a lot of people pray for healing of those who are sick, for praying for other needs. And even though none of us are baking that full batch, I figured collectively we're baking such a huge batch of challah that I would take a little piece. I'll do this on behalf of everyone. And I won't say the blessing because it's not technically that whole batch, but if we all want to hold anybody in mind right now who we may be thinking of who's sick, and I think we probably all know somebody who is at least under the weather a little bit right now, or in need of some sort of healing. Let's just send our vibes to those people and take a moment as we're about to braid our challah. So we can just take a moment. And as we take that moment, what I will do is I'm going to take that piece of challah. You don't have to do this, but I'm just taking it on everyone's behalf. I'm going to put it in a piece of tin foil, and I'm going to just put it in the oven and let it burn. That's the custom. So be right back. Yeah, so it's really nice to come all together to make such a huge batch of challah. I also want to say that it feels particularly fitting to make such a huge batch of challah with so many people as Yom HaShoah, Holocaust Remembrance Day, is coming to a close. I know not everyone here is necessarily of Jewish faith, but Brandeis is a very important place in the Jewish tradition, and baking challah is a very important piece of the Jewish tradition. So I think it's fitting that that on this day we're baking a lot of challah. Great. Happy birthday to Tal's daughter. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to put a little bit of, I'm gonna roll up my sleeves, take a little bit of flour and sprinkle it on my countertop. So I'll just like lean this down so you can see, just taking a little bit of flour and sort of sprinkling it down and kind of rubbing it around a little bit. Because I'm about to dump all the dough onto here and portion it out. And I know the dough's kind of sticky. And then I'm gonna scrape the dough out. I'm not kneading it now. I'm not trying to like mess with it. It's done its thing. So we don't want to knead it at this point, because after you knead it, you have to let it rise again. We're not doing that. We are going to be working with it, but not kneading it too much and enough to really have it have a full rise again. So I'm going to divide this into thirds because I'm going to be making 3 loaves. It's not perfect thirds, despite being a math teacher. You do the best that you can. And then with each one, I sort of form it into a ball. I'll just put it off to the side. If you feel like, I can tell this one's smaller than the other 2, unless you feel like there's a huge discrepancy, you can, pull some from one and stick it onto another to even it out a little. It's not that big of a deal. These are all making their own challahs anyway. They're not being braided together. And so now I have my 3 portioned out pieces of dough. So I'll give everyone a moment to do that before we then take one of our balls of dough and braid it, which I think I'm gonna do. That over here, but we'll see. All right. I would love like thumbs up if you're ready to go. You're ready to braid. You can absolutely make the dough and braid it in the same day. In that case, you wouldn't do a rise in the fridge. You would just let it sit out for about 2 hours, and then you can do what we're doing now. We just did this in 2 parts. Okay. I'm going to take one of my pieces of dough and I'm going to break it up into 6. So there are 2 ways of breaking it up into 6, either breaking it into half and then the halves into thirds, or into thirds and the thirds into halves. I'm going to break this in half, cut it in half, and then take each half and cut it into thirds. And I find doing this with a knife makes it slightly more precise than if I were just ripping it by hand. I can tell that like this one's a little bigger, so I'm gonna, just rip a piece off. I just want basically even pieces if possible. Whoever it was that had the kitchen scale yesterday, you can go crazy and weigh them each and, redistribute. I'm not doing that. So what you're looking for here is 6 little pieces. These are my 2. I'm actually gonna put these further off to the side because I need a little more space. Okay, we ready to keep going?
Leah, there's a question in the chat box.
Yeah.
Does the ball need to be smooth?
Does it need to be smooth? I mean, no, mine aren't in like balls yet. So it's not like this. But I will also say that like week to week, it could have a different consistency. Like mine feels on the softer side today, but some weeks it's a little denser feeling, and that's fine too. So As long as you saw your dough rise, then you're gonna have a good challah.
Okay. And then another question, ours didn't rise well, so I'm only making one challah. So only 3 pieces, I assume? That's the question.
If you're making one challah, you can still make it into, you can still divide it into 6. I mean, these would be your strands. Because this is going to be one challah. These 6 balls in a few minutes are going to turn into one challah. So I think you can still divide it into 6, but that's up to you. Okay, I'm going to keep going now. The next step is to roll out our pieces of dough. And you might need a little bit more flour here. So again, I'm just going to move everyone off to the side a little bit, just sprinkle a little bit of flour and start rolling. So to roll it out, you're basically putting a little bit of pressure and pushing down and out and in. So I usually do it like a few with one hand and then get both hands in. Now, don't try to pull out too far because it's going to want to just spring right back. So just don't try to pull it too far in any one direction because that's not, so don't just take it and just, you know, drag it apart because then when it bakes, it's not going to, it's going to kind of change form and you're not going to like how it looks. So I'm being kind of gentle with it. So it is, you know, pushing a little bit as I go. And I'm going to stop when my challah is about, say that's about 12 inches, maybe slightly longer. Maybe, I think that's 12. 12, this looks like 12 inches to you. And that's one piece. And then when I'm done with that, I'm just going to put it off to the side and do my next one. I don't need. And if one of your strands ends up much longer than the other, as long as they're about the same thickness, it's fine because we're gonna, after we braid it, if there's a part that's too long, we're just gonna cut it off. So don't worry too much about that. So I got my second piece, go on to my third. Try not to add too much flour here, just like a little sprinkle with each strand. And if you notice that there's like a lump, just, you know, roll that piece out a little bit more so that you don't have something that's too uneven. And I'm just doing this with all 6 strands. They're gonna, they start about 12 inches and then as you see, they're gonna come in a little bit. That's what the dough does and that's totally fine. Okay. So I have my 6 here just hanging next to each other. I'll give everyone a minute to do the same. Everyone's getting their arm workout for the day, I see. So you're just doing this with the first loaf. We're going to do this for each of them as we go. So you just need 6 strands for right now. And the next piece is going to be the most sort of direction looking, challenging piece, but we're going to do it 3 different times. You have 3 chances to watch and to try. And then you have every Shabbat from now until forever to keep trying. Okay. I see people still sort of rolling out. So I think that means people still need a minute. Having a hard time. I don't know what that word is. Oh. You can just maybe put a little bit more, you can start by, sometimes if it's a little denser, you can start by rolling it between your hands a little bit until you have something that's like sort of oval shaped, and then put it on your cupboard, on your countertop. We are just, all I've done so far is roll out the 6 strands. I still have the 2 here that are going to be for 2 other loaves. So I rolled 1 ball into 6 strands. Okay, I think I'm gonna show you the braiding. You just give me a thumb up if you're ready to braid. See some thumbs, but not, okay. We're gonna give 1 more minute because I think some people need 1 more minute, and then we'll go on. The first step, I'll still give a minute, but the first step is going to be sort of pinching all of the tops together. You can go ahead and do that. Doesn't matter if you don't like the way this looks, you can always just chop it off after. Okay, I'm going to try to explain how this next part is going to work. I'll be as clear as I can with the directions, but it is a little tricky the first time you do it. So again, you're going to pinch the top of all of the strands together. I'm going to be doing this like mirroring you. So I'm going to do it this way. So you're going to stand sort of mirrored to me. So I'm going to do the best to use the words exterior and interior. So exterior meaning like the outer pieces, and the interior meaning the inner pieces. So let's give this a go. I will do it as clearly as I can. So what you need to have is this little, that I think, okay. Hope my computer doesn't fall, it's on a pot right now. You should have your strands as 2, 2, and 2. So there's sort of a space in between here and a space in between here. I actually need to move this all down a little bit so I can reach this a little bit better. So kind of 2, 2, and 2. Still sort of separated, but with a space between. Okay, what we're going to be doing is a lot of this. Like your arms are going to be moving like this. Your arms are never going to cross each other. So you should never do this. When we're doing this, you should always be able to just move. Okay, it's going to be specific where I tell you to move it, but just as like a tip, your arms are never going to cross like this. So you're going to take these two pieces on the outside. You can mirror me. So for me, these are the left pieces. I assume for you, they're the right two. And this piece here is going to end up all the way on the exterior of the other side. And this piece here is going to end up in this other space. So again, we have it set up as 2, 2, and 2 for a reason, because we need this space here. And we're going to put piece over here too. Okay, so here's what it looks like. I'm moving everything over. So this comes all the way out and this comes down. Then I'm going to sort of reposition everyone. So it's 2, 2, and 2. And we're going to go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. So I'm holding these two here. And this second piece is going to end up all the way on the exterior. And this piece here is going to end up in that break. So again, we have 2, 2, and 2. And this is where this outer piece is going to end up. And now I'm going to kind of move everyone again, just so I have room on my countertop. And then we're going to do this. Yep.
Oh, I was going to say there's a request if you can do the first move again. Somebody's requesting if you could do that.
So
here.
every move is actually exactly the same. So we're back to the start, basically, where I have 2, 2, and 2. And I take the two pieces on the outside, whether or not you're with me or you're just starting now, doesn't matter. And this piece here is going to end up all the way over. And this piece is going to end up in the middle. So watch, my hands are not crossing. And I'm moving everyone over so I have those spaces again, mainly this space here. So I have 2, 2, and 2. And now I'm going to come over to this side. I take my exterior 2. Comes to the middle. This comes out. We're going to do this with 2 more lobes. So if you're stuck or not sure, that's okay. And I'm taking the 2 over here again. And I'm over here. Back here. So again, this one comes all the way and this one comes to the middle. Back here. Now the ends can get a little, whenever you feel like you don't have enough left, just you can stop. I've done this a couple of times, so I know how to sort of tie the end up, but I'm actually going to stop right there and I'm going to cut the ends off, but I'll pause while people finish braiding, because I can see I'm a little picky about how it looks, and I don't like that it looks so much wider up here than it does over here. So I'm just going to fix that by cutting the end off. So I'm really just going to I just cut the end that I didn't like, and now I'm going to pinch this top together. And I'm going to cut a little bit here. I'm going to pinch the bottom together. And then, challah. How are we doing? Ooh, nice, Amy. Again, now. Oh, okay. We're doing this with 2 other loaves. So if you don't love the way yours looks, that's okay. But all I've done so far is that first challah. I haven't touched the other 2 loaves yet. I haven't done anything with that, just working on the first. How do you pinch the ends again? Okay, so again, what I did with the ends, and I'll do it with the other 2, I did not like the way the ends looked, so I just cut a piece off, whatever piece didn't look nicely braided, and I just pinched the top together, and you can sort of tuck it a little bit. I did the same, pinched and tucked, and roll challah. If you have a braided challah, can you hold it up a little so you can see if you want? And smile so I can take a screenshot. Smile with your loaves, or just smile. Wait, I need to get to every page here. Smile, keep smiling. Okay, cool, nice. I think the last page is only, yeah, all the cameras are off on that last page. All right, cool. So from here on, the steps are repeating. So if you are in slightly a different place than I am, that's okay. So we're repeating the same process over again. Can you give me a thumb if you're ready for me to continue braiding the next loaf?
No, there's space.
Okay,
too.
cool.
Is,
all right, I'm gonna go ahead and, yep.
Yeah, there's a question. Do you alternate sides each time?
Yep. So that I'll do it again with the second loaf. But what I was doing is I took 2, moved them side to side, and I'll do that again. I'll show you
Awesome.
again.
Thanks.
So I'm going to take this challah here, and I'm going to put it on the baking sheet.
Baking sheet?
Yep. You put them on the baking sheet.
And
Where's the
I'm
baking?
going to
Up here.
take my second loaf and break it into 6. Each half into thirds.
Leah, I muted you. Sorry. Feel free to unmute.
Okay, got it. Sorry, every time you mute everyone, I'm included in that. Okay, so what I was saying is that I broke up that loaf into 6 equal pieces by breaking it into half, and each of those halves into thirds. So now I have 6. And I'm just seeing if there's one that's like way bigger or way smaller than the others. Maybe this is a little bigger, but it's all about the same. Then I'm gonna line them up and get ready to roll them out. So I'm just gonna take a little bit of flour, put it down, and take my first piece and start rolling it out again. Again, being gentle, not to pull too hard. The dough doesn't really like that. And I think stopping when it's about 12 inches. The finish one here. And if I'm feeling like I didn't put any more flour when I started with this strand, but I'm starting to feel that it's like pulling against itself, so then I'm just going to take a little bit more flour because I don't want the dough to do that.
Leah, should the baking sheet be sprayed?
If you are using, if you're using parchment paper, you don't need to spray it. If you're using tin foil, I would recommend spraying a little. If you're using a silicone mat, you definitely do not need to spray it. And yeah, just a plug for silicone mats. They're really great, and they are, you just stick them in the dishwasher and nothing sticks to them in the oven, and it's great. And Amazon, like you can buy the Amazon Basics brand, and that's when I'm at my apartment, that's what I use. Just put this back down. Right, so here I have my 6. Maybe I'll put this one a little more. All right, and then give everyone a minute to do the same. Is everyone happy or stressed? I don't know. Maybe a mix. We're down. Okay, some down, some up. Yeah, I'll give everyone a few minutes. And just a reminder, if you have not preheated your oven, go ahead and do that to 340 degrees. Yes, I will go very slow this time. And if you want to zoom ahead of me, you can totally do that. If you feel like you know what you're doing, you want to just go do the same with the next 2. You don't need to wait. I'm just going to wait so that those who want to follow with the 6 can do that. The other thing I'll say is you certainly do not have to do 6. So for your final loaf, if you want to do 3 instead, you can. And if you want to make some rolls, you can also do that. And I'll just show you quickly how to make a roll if you want. I'm going to do this and then undo it. But you would take a strand that you have rolled out, and you're kind of tying it into a knot. So I'm folding it over. I'm just showing you if you want to make a roll. So kind of just folding it over like a knot, except I'm just not going to pull this last piece through. I'm just going to kind of tuck it. I'll show you again. So I have a strand, and I'm kind of going to fold it like a ribbon. And then here, I'm going to do that. Tuck this piece under, but just give it like, don't pull it all the way through. I think it looks prettier when it's baked, when it's just like this. So if you wanted to make some rolls instead of a whole challah, you can definitely do that too. I'll wait another few minutes, and then I'll give the 6 braid tutorial again. Do you ever make completely round challah? Yes, I do. It is still sort of braided. There's a method to that. Usually I do that around the fall Jewish holidays, around Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, or not Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, Sukkot, Simchat Torah. That's like a traditional time to make round challah. So I definitely do that. Maybe we can do a round challah workshop in the fall. Okay. I am going to, unless anyone opposes strongly, I'm going to give another tutorial on the Six Strand. If you have strong opposition to that, please write, wait a minute in the chat, and I will wait a minute. Okay, we're doing it. So again, I'm mirroring you. So I have my strands set up this way, and I'm going to pinch them at the top. How many loaves fit on one tray? For me, all three will fit on this tray. If you have, this is like a bigger baking tray. If you have a smaller one, you might need two. What are the dimensions of this? 12 by 18, I would say. So if yours is much smaller than that, if yours looks more like, you know, a big sheet of paper, like 8 by 12, then you might need two. But otherwise, the standard size should fit all three. Okay. So I pinched the 6 together, and I am going to separate them out into 2 and 2 and 2. And that's something we're going to do every single time we braid. We're going to reposition so it looks like this, so it's ready to go. And if you want to sort of bend your camera down, it's easy enough to do, so I can see that, you can definitely do that, and then I can see what's going on. Or if you want to leave it as it is, that's great. Okay. Cool. So I'm going to start with the 2 on this side. You can choose any side, but I would mirror me so that it feels easier to use. So that I would start with your right, the 2 on the most right side. So you're kind of, it looks like you're looking in a mirror. So yeah, Roberta, you might want to turn yours the other direction so that, like, turn the whole, exactly, so that you can mirror me as you do it. I would think that would be a little easier. Okay, so I'm taking the 2 all the way here. Again, my hands are never going to cross like this. We're going to bring them over. So this piece is going to come all the way to the end, and this piece is going to come in that other space we created, like this. I'll do that one more time. So I had 2, 2, 2. This piece is going to end up all the way on the end, this second piece. And this first piece, that's currently all the way on the end, is going to end up in this other space. Now I'm going to reposition again. So I have 2 and 2 and 2. 2 and 2 and 2. And now I'm starting on the other side. So I would think you started on the right, moved left. So now you're going to start left and move right. So the piece that's all the way over on your left is going to end up in this space, this piece. And this is going to end up all the way on the exterior, like this. And then I'm going to reposition everybody out again so I have room to do it again. Now I'm back on the right, your right. So I have these 2. Again, my hands are not crossing each other, so don't do any of this. They're staying put, moving, moving, moving. This comes all the way to the end. This comes to the middle. I reposition, reposition, reposition. And now I have to start on your left. So again, this second piece ends up all the way on the end, and this piece is going to end up in my other gap, like this. space everybody out again. When I do it again, I'm going to start on the right, but I just want to check in.
Leah, can you take it apart and redo it if you've made a mistake?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And a
See,
couple
I'm
of
being
more
videoed
questions.
over there. What?
Oh, I was gonna read the 2 questions in the chat.
Yep.
How many loaves fit on one tray?
3. I think I said that before. Yeah, 3. The
Okay.
3 should fit on one big baking tray.
Okay, and how long do you have to let it rest for?
So each loaf should have about 15 minutes before it goes in the oven, and they all will, because we're going to brush them, we're going to top them, so it's fine. Your first one's getting that, your second one will get that, your third one a little less so, but they'll for about 15-20 minutes. Okay, I'm going to finish braiding this one. I need to start on this side. So I have again 2, 2, and 2. This is coming all the way to the end, and this is coming in the middle. And I'm repositioning everyone, and I'm starting on the left now. I really hope this is your left, otherwise that would be very confusing. This is your left. Okay. All right. Again, we're here, not crossing. This piece is coming all the way to the end, this piece in the middle. So the piece that's on the exterior now is always going to end up back in the middle. And the second piece is always going to end up on the exterior of the other side. So exterior is going to go to the middle, and this interior piece is coming all the way over. And again, as you get to the end, you can just sort of stop when you feel like you're not making something that you like the way that it looks, or that, so I'm going to pause about there, and I'm going to cut the ends off. So, because I'll show you what I mean. I don't like, I'm being kind of picky, but I don't like this doesn't look so braided to me. So I'm just cutting the end off and pinching this together. And I'll do the same on the other side, because it just looks, well, I don't know. I think I'm kind of fine with the other side. I'm just going to tuck it under just a little bit. It's totally fine to tuck under like this, as long as you don't tuck a huge piece under that changes the, like, you know, I don't want to tuck this whole thing under, because then it won't be even. But I just tuck little ends under, and then I think that looks pretty even to me. Second little challah baby. Oh, nice. I don't know your name. Glenn. That looks nice. I know your name's not Glenn, but I don't know your name. I can see you're not Glenn, though. Zachary and Davis, how's it going over there? I can't hear you, but you can give me a thumbs up. Cool. I'll take it. Okay, good questions. May I ask how to make a roll again if possible? Yes, I will definitely do that. Ooh, toddler making a roll. Okay. I'm just going to take a little piece and roll it out just to demonstrate how I am making a roll. How tight is the braid? Truthfully, it's not too tight, because I think the tighter it is, the dough is still going to kind of do what it wants to do. So I think the tighter if you make it really, really tight, the dough might pull apart a little bit in the oven. So it's not so, I'm sort of laying one on top of the other. It's not tightly braided the way you would braid long hair. I'm going to show you how to make a roll again. If you want, you can ignore this if you're not making rolls, or if you don't want to. So I'm just rolling out one piece. Yes, and while I'm doing that, I will just say, if you want to go at your own pace, what you need to do from here. So you're preheated to 340. in a few minutes. Brush it with egg wash. Again, I'm going to walk everyone through this, but somebody asked, because they're leaving in a few minutes, what to do. So if you're staying with me, you can ignore this. 340, you're going to egg wash, put whatever toppings you want. After each loaf, just make sure the last loaf has had about 10 minutes, at least 15 minutes before it goes in the oven. And then you can put all 3 in the oven. I set my timer for 15 minutes. And then after 15 minutes, I rotate the loaves around because I know, and I think this is typical of many ovens, it might brown if it's more in the back or whatever, and I like it even looking. So after 15 minutes, I rotate it. And then I set it for another 10 and check on it then. So that would be a total of 25 minutes. If it looks golden brown on top, you might be good from there. It kind of depends on your oven, but oftentimes it'll need another 5. And there's a little bit of choice in here too. Some people like really doughy, not undercooked, but like barely cooked challah. And some people want like a really golden brown, really like, you know, like really, really full baked challah. So you can sort of use your judgment there. So back to the challah roll for, okay, back to the challah roll. I rolled out a piece, and I am going to take, I'm going to do it this way. I think that's easier. I'm going to take this and make sort of like like one of those ribbons that you would wear for some good cause, like this, and then tuck this under, but not pull it all the way through. So I'll do that again. So this is, again, only if you're making a roll. I make like a little loop. So I have my good deed ribbon, and then tuck under a little bit like that. And I'm sure however your toddler does it is beautiful. I'm gonna go ahead and do the 3rd loaf, I think. Will you show how to apply the egg wash? Yes, I will do that. To do that, you'll need either like a little brush or a paper towel. Okay, my 2nd loaf is done. I'm going to put it on the baking sheet, and I'm going to come to my 3rd loaf, which, because it has some of those extra pieces in it, is going to be my biggest one. Put a little bit of flour here. I'm going to start by breaking it up to 6. If you want to do something different for your 3rd, if you want to do 6 rolls, if you want to do a traditional 3-strand braid, you know, out like this, you can do that too. And if you are, if you're going at your own pace, you can egg wash now. I still have one more loaf to do. So I'm gonna do that. I'll do it on the quicker side perhaps, so I can make sure to share the rest of the directions. You place loaves horizontal or vertical on the pan. Or mine looks like this. So I think if my pan is horizontally towards me, I am placing them vertically. So I need to break this 2nd half up into 3rds, making sure they're kind of even. I realize that we are going to go a little bit over 5 o'clock. I hope that's okay. Well, your challah is not gonna, your challah needs to bake anyway, but I'm gonna go ahead and roll out. Nikki and Amy, are you okay if I go till like 5:10, 5:15? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay.
Okay.
Me.
Egg wash is, I do both. I just sort of put the egg in a bowl, kind of scramble it a little bit, and then brush it over the top, the egg white and the egg yolk. If you only use yolk, your challah might be a little darker, which can be really pretty. I do both. I see some people have to go. Yeah, let me demo the egg wash for those who have to run. And I'll also say, while I'm getting that out, I'm just going to put that page back up that has the information. You can disregard this top information. In fact, I'll just delete it. But please tag me, tag Brandeis, Brandeis alumni, Brandeis women on Facebook. Just going to get my egg. And a little bowl. And maybe Nikki and Amy, we can send the email for the Facebook group in the email that we send the directions to. So again, I still have one more challah to go, but some people want to see how to do the egg wash. Pretty straightforward. I have a little brush here. I'm actually just going to mix the egg a little with the brush. You want to use a fork first, we can do that. If you don't have a brush, you can take paper towel. Don't mix it with paper towel, mix it with a fork. And then you can take paper towel and kind of dunk it in a little and sort of wipe the top of the challah. That's not the most glorious way of doing it, glamorous way, but it's totally fine. Okay, so now I've mixed the egg a little bit, just so the egg and the white are kind of combined, and I'm just dipping it in and like really just painting. Don't go too hard on it because you don't want to, you know, like puncture any part of the challah, but you're just sort of painting any part of the challah that you can see right now, you're painting. So make sure you get basically anything that you don't paint with egg wash is not going to be shiny. That's what this is an aesthetic thing, okay? Anything that you don't paint is just not going to be shiny. So you want anything that you would see, okay? So anything you can see right now, which is what you'd be able to see when you bake, to be shiny. Making sure, like I'm trying to fully sort of paint so I get, you know, not just paint the top here, but sort of also get in between a little bit.
Leah, is it possible for you to go back on, like to stop sharing the screen so people can see what you're doing?
Yep.
Perfect, thank you. Okay.
So again, I'm just painting, trying not to be too like rough with it because I don't want to like pull any piece of the challah, but anything that I can see, I'm brushing with egg. That's kind of it. Then from there, it goes in the oven. Again, I do 15 minutes and then check on it, turn it around and do another 10. Check on it at that point. While we still have everyone here, can you hold up either your tray or your challah? Can we see, show us your dough? Cool, cool. Hold it up for a minute so I can take some more pics. Oh, wait, hold on. Yay, keep going so I can see everybody because there's too many pages here. Looks good. Go judges. Go Brandy. Looks really good. Leslie Pearlstein, I don't know you, but I like your challah. Lexi, that looks really good with the toppings. Everyone's good. Yeah, thanks. Okay, I took lots of pictures. Thanks. You can put the egg wash is just egg. Yes, my egg wash is just egg. Some people put a little honey in. I don't usually. So I'm going to go ahead and finish. Sorry, Nikki, was it? Did you, or Amy?
Yeah, did you say that it was supposed to sit before you put it in the oven? Or did I mishear
It should
that?
sit out. Yeah, a couple of people said they had to go, and so they wanted me to show the egg wash. But yeah, it should, each loaf should get about 15 minutes to sit out. So about 15 minutes after your last one is all done. The egg wash can go on, really at any point before you put it in the oven, how long in the oven. So you're gonna do 15 minutes and then turn the tray around so you get a nice even bake, and then set your timer again for 10 minutes and check on it. If it looks really golden brown at that point, you can take it out. And if not, then you can put it back in. Another way of knowing, it's a little trickier to check this, but another way of knowing that your challah is done is if the bottom is brown. So if you're not sure if the top has become really brown, but it's only been 20 minutes, take like a kitchen towel, don't burn yourself, take a kitchen towel and try to like pick it up and peek at the bottom. If it's real pale on the bottom, then it's probably not ready yet. Is it just 3 pieces braided? If you've done the egg wash, you can put your toppings on if you have toppings. If you have not put egg wash on, don't put toppings. Toppings go on top of the egg wash. I think I answered how long in the oven. Is it just 3 pieces braided like you braid a hair braid? Yeah. If you're doing 3, then it's like your hair. Thank you, Eddie. Thank you. So I'm going to do the 6er one more time if you want to watch. I'm going to go a little faster this time just because we are in a little bit of time crunch and I want to respect that. So I'm doing 2, 2, 2. And I'll go a little faster also so you can see the pacing of it. So I'm starting with the 2 on the right. Again, hands are never crossing each other. Making sure each time to re-space everybody out. After a few braids, the re-spacing kind of, because these pieces are sort of staying where they are, it sort of happens on it. I don't need to move them around quite as much. But here, I can tell this is going to be my biggest one. I'm going to push, if I like the way the ends look mostly, I'm kind of just pushing them down, tucking them under a little bit. This end, I'll show you I don't like this end, so I'm cutting it. And I'll make a little roll out of it. And I'm gonna just pinch these pieces together. Here's my little challah. And I have one more piece, one more little roll that I'll make. And again, if you're saving these for Shabbat, for Friday night, I would freeze them. And if you're gonna freeze them, this is what I would do. After you take them out of the oven, let them cool for a few hours, and then wrap them in tin foil. And if you can, also put them in a Ziploc bag and then put them in the freezer. If you're only gonna use them Friday, you don't need to wrap them so tightly, but if you want them in there for weeks and weeks, then you should definitely make sure it's wrapped and try to take as much of the air out of the Ziploc as possible. And my final roll, cross it over like a good ribbon and tuck a piece in, but not picking the whole strand out. I have a little piece there. I have one more loaf to egg wash. So I'm going to go ahead and do that now. I'm not going to put them in the oven quite yet because I just finished this loaf, so I'm going to wait about 10 more minutes. But I'll show you how I put toppings on. So let me just, okay. Again, I'm just taking my egg wash, kind of painting it, not dousing it in egg, because you don't want to eat scrambled eggs. I don't want to. You don't want to see any like big puddles of yellow. So I ended up making 3 loaves and a little roll. I'm going to take my sesame seeds. I just pour some into my hand. It's probably hard to see because they're white and the challah is white, but then I'm just sprinkling, hoping that most of it lands on the challah and not on the plate. And not on the baking sheet. I like a lot of sesame seeds. I like the look of it. I like the taste of it. I'm just kind of sprinkling, make sure you get the sides too. That's kind of it. How long do rolls bake? Oh yes, I'll repeat the freezing instructions and I will tell you about the baking. So the baking, one more time, total, it's gonna bake for about half an hour. What I like to do is after 15 minutes, rotate it so that it's a little more even. So I set a timer for, put it in the oven, set a timer for 15, rotate it, set another timer for 10. So now we're at 25 minutes. I check on it, might be ready at that point, might need an extra 5. Also depends on the size. If you made 1 or 2 loaves out of this batch, you might need 30 to 35 minutes in your oven. If you made only rolls, your rolls are gonna probably be baked in about 20 minutes or so. So it also depends on the size. I know for this kind of batch, for 3, it's gonna take me between 25 and 30. And then, yes, yeah, for the freezing instructions, the two most important pieces is that you let your challah cool completely, okay, so that it doesn't like sweat in the freezer and then that freezes and gets on the challah and then it's not as good. So 2 most important parts is number 1, that it cools completely before you freeze, and number 2, that you try to take as much air out of the plastic bag as possible. So you're gonna let it cool, wrap it in tin foil, put it in a Ziploc bag, and try to sort of squeeze the air as much as you can out of the Ziploc bag and then put it in the freezer, and it's good there for a while. When rolling, I saw air bubbles and dough. Yeah, you can kind of just like squeeze it out, punch it out. How much cinnamon and sugar would you use as a topping per loaf? Probably, okay, the ratio would probably be 2 to 1 sugar to cinnamon, I would say. I would do, you could probably do a tablespoon of sugar and a half a tablespoon. Yeah, half of a tablespoon of cinnamon. If you have any other questions, put them in the chat now. I'll put this information back up so we can see your pictures on Instagram, on Facebook. If we freeze, when do we take it out of the oven? Oh, you're gonna bake it now. Take it out of the oven when it's done baking. And then let it cool completely and freeze it at that point. How? Sorry, I'm not sure what you mean by that, Tal. To freeze it, yeah, cover it in foil and put in a Ziploc bag. How much would you make? How would you make an onion topping? You could use like dried onions. I like doing that with like poppy seed, like onion poppy. I really like. So you could use dehydrated onions and like with a little bit of salt. I would do and sprinkle that over the top. I think that would be really good. How soon do you take it out of the freezer in time for Shabbat? That's a good question. I think if you take it out in the Friday morning, you'll be fine. I think the key is to make the strands of equal length before braiding. Definitely try to do that, but worse, I would say I think it's more important that it's equal like thickness, or else the challah is not going to look even. But yeah, trying to get them equal length is definitely good too. So I think we are going to wrap it up. Nikki or Amy, is there anything you wanted to say before we do that?
Absolutely. First of all, Leah, thank you so much for doing this for us. This was amazing, and I know everybody from the feedback I've been getting really enjoyed it. So we can't thank you enough on behalf of the Brandeis Alumni Association and on behalf of the Brandeis Women's Network. Again, for Brandeis women who are on this call, if you're not in our Facebook group, I would encourage you to join. Just search Brandeis Women, and there's a couple questions to answer, and we will look forward to seeing you there. We have a lot of programming coming up. For those who are interested, there is a discussion tomorrow night, a COVID-19 panel tomorrow night. You can find information about that on the Brandeis alumni page, as well as a discussion on Thursday night about leadership, featuring, I believe, 2 female alumni in leadership positions, and they're both going to be really interesting and fascinating. So I would encourage you to attend, and I hope to see everybody there virtually.
And just this is Tali. In order to find the events, if you go on the Facebook page, there's a tab called Events. So you just scroll into, and then you can see a calendar, and there's going to be additional events we'll be posting the next day or so. And thank you, Leah.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I'm happy to stick around for a few minutes to answer any other questions, but other than that, we're done.
All right, everybody, enjoy your challah, and send
Post your
us
pictures. I want to see them.
And Louis, I want to.
Yes, please don't forget to share pictures on the different media platforms that are on the screen. We definitely want to see, how everything came out. Thank you.